Hello, my name is Jim Paris. Many of you are frustrated today with low-yielding CDs, savings accounts, and money markets. The answers to these low yields can certainly be found. They are being creative. In the building behind me, right now taking place is a tax lien auction. We're going to teach you how you can take advantage of these higher rates of return, and by being creative, how you can increase your yields above these types of investments that we've just mentioned.
And I'm J.W. Dix. We're here before the sign, just like you could be, to earn 18% on your money. Inside are a lot of people bidding on tax lien certificates, making anywhere up to 18% on their money. And you too could be a part of that. The only difference between you and the people inside is that they've done it before. They've been educated. They know the process. So what we're going to do collectively, and kind of fun, is we're going to walk through the process together. We want to show you that this is something to get your fears over with, something that you can take control of and earn the kinds of returns that you would like to today. So let's go inside and see how the process works. Jim?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're in the room, and that's the first part we've got to go through. We've got to get in, and usually people are a little bit nervous. They don't know where we're going to go. We're going to go down here because that's where the people are. That's the first thing we've got to do.
Get registered, pay our money, all of those kinds of things.
All the fun things.
That's right.
I hope I brought my checkbook with me. Did you bring yours?
Well, I don't have it. I hope you have it.
We'll see what happens. Now we need to bear with us while we walk through this process, because I really want you to get a feel of what it takes to stand at the counter, go through the process, see how long the process really takes and what it's like.
The key is so that when you go out and do this, you'll have the confidence, because you've gone through the process with us, to be able to go out and do this on your own and not feel hesitant or nervous about going through this very same process. So far, it's been pretty painless.
That's right, so far, but I've given up the money. You haven't done that yet. That's the difference.
Let's see how much I got here. I got a couple of dollars. Maybe I can buy the Cokes afterwards.
Now, that $1,000 deposit allows us to bid on anything, right?
On anything, yes. And you'll get a letter in the mail telling you how much you actually spent and how much you need to bring in.
And how long do you have to bring in the cash after you spend the money?
By the time you receive your letter, approximately 48 hours, you have to bring in certified funds to the tax
Bring in
collector
certified
to
funds,
receive
okay.
your certificates.
So this isn't something that you want to maybe bid on with money that you're getting next year on your tax refund.
So don't be bidding on any $1 million properties today.
Hey, you need to check this out for me and verify
Okay.
it, and then just sign down here and make sure all that information is correct.
Okay, I'm verifying all the information that we signed up, so it looks pretty good to me. And I will sign and say that everything's okay.
Okay, here's your receipt. You can just step over to the table and get your bidding number.
Go to the next table. That's right over here. Thank you very much for your time.
We're getting closer, getting exciting.
Well, I haven't bought anything yet, but I'm working at it, right? Hi, ladies.
Hi,
Do
what's
you
your
want
number?
do you want this, or what do I do now?
We'll take your receipt.
Take my receipt.
Angie, he has 670 and 671.
Thank you.
670,
There's the lucky number, 670.
671.
Now, is this,
We'll
is
let
this the
James
paper?
have this number.
This is the newspaper.
This is the paper for today.
Yes.
What people need to know is that in most tax lien certificates, there will be a listing like this, and it will tell you specifically the number of what is being bid on. When we go in there, we'll show you how this works, and we'll look up exactly what number that they're on currently as we go in through the doors, and then we'll be able to look at the property that we're going to be bidding on for that tax lien certificate. So it's important that you get this kind of information when you go through the doors. Okay, we're all set?
There you
Number
go.
671 sounds like a lucky
Thank
number.
you very much. Okay, now we're going to go in this room, and we're going to have to find
Now,
a seat.
yes, the
So-
next challenge, finding a seat.
$67, $64, $1,400. What's the deal in here now? 606,
Let's see if we can find two seats
67,
together.
65, 400, 263.
Well, let's sit in the back.
Okay.
67, 66, 4,500, huh? 10, quarter, half,
How about right here? This sounds good.
9 and a quarter.
Now, the first thing we need to find out is what number they're on. So we're going to do that, and we'll take a little step of time to do that.
Okay.
67, 68,
Ask them
2,500,
what number they're on.
10,
What number are we on, sir? 67. Okay.
half,
Number 67.
290, 9.5,
Where do we go here? Let's see.
299.5.
Thank you very much.
So you get a lot of help from people around you. That's another part of the strategy.
67, 69, 2,300. 17, 15, 12,
I wonder if the comics are in here.
13,
Yeah.
quarter,
Okay.
Okay, hang on a minute.
There we go. Page 25.
6,900. 10,
67.
19,
Okay, hold on.
410, 6,800. 10,
6,800.
6,772.
6,772.
9 3/4. 267, 9 3/4.
7.
6773, 3,700. 66, huh?
773. There it is.
There we are.
We now found out where we're at.
And that'll be the next one.
7,742.
Now, specifically, what do we see there
Okay.
in this?
Here's the lot that they're calling out. This is then the amount of unpaid tax lien that we're going to actually bid on. So if you wanted to bid $3,788, then that's the amount that you would get, and you would earn whatever the going rate of interest is. So let's see how they're going out. What was the last number? 670.
$900. 91.
And let's listen for a moment at the numbers.
$400. 7707 bid 100. And 266 at 10. 7708 $200. 546. 7710 2600. 10. 57.
Now, right now, what he's doing is going randomly through the audience, giving these out at 18%. But as we hear the people yelling, what's happening is people are bidding below the 18%. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so when you hear the people speaking out, they're giving a lower rate than the 18% rate that these are being offered at. And contrary to what most auctions do, the lowest bidder actually wins as opposed to the highest bidder. So
Exactly.
it's important that people understand that.
Okay, get them in a line there. Both sides. 414. 7727 2000. 655. Like I already called it. 7728 700. 344. 344. Who's bidding 17 on $700? Somebody. Yelling at her. 3/4.
Okay, we're going to bid on this one right here, 6791.
Oh, that's 9.5, right? 516, 9.5. 6791. 17. 15.
Now, see, they're bidding me down now. They're down to 10.
65
You picked a good one.
I know, I
Everybody
picked
wants
a good
that one.
So I'm going to bid on another one here.
6793, $800. 337. Hatcher, where are you at? If he's gonna get a picture, he pick it up.
Now, again, what's happening, you hear people yelling out 17, 16. They're actually bidding for a lower interest rate. And the person with accepting the lowest interest rate would actually get that tax lien certificate. Nobody bids, then the auctioneer will actually randomly choose who will receive that at 18%.
Who wants that? 552.
See, it's fun.
Hey,
It's
tell
bidding.
Hatcher to come in when you go out there, will you? Tell Hatcher. 6795, 2400. What's the number? 11. 10. 3/4.
Well, the other thing that we don't have is a poll. Everybody around us seems to have their numbers up on polls, so maybe that's another.
New strategy. Bring a poll.
68, 17, 1600. Where's this little group over here? 424. 68, 19, 1300, 58. 68, 24, 11, 12, 11, 10.
3/4.
3/4. Half. 9.
3/4.
3/4. What's that, 8 3/4? 267, 8 3/4. 68, 21, 3600. 12. 11. 10. Half. 9. 3/4. 8 3/4. 260. Item number 6869 for $921.23. Go to 670. Who did that?
Okay, we got it.
Good,
All right,
good.
fantastic.
All right.
It
Now,
worked.
now what do? We got to go figure out what we're going to do. We're going to walk through the rest of the process and see actually how we collect it.
Well, hello.
Hi. Just did it.
What do we
okay?
do now? We got the number down, and we need to know what our next process is. What's our step?
All right, the next step will be to wait to hear from our office.
Uh-huh.
You'll be notified in approximately a week of exactly what you purchased.
Okay.
If there's a balance owing, you have to come into our office within 48 hours with a cashier's check.
Okay.
If there's money due you, then we'll go through the normal process and you will get a refund.
Will give me some cash back if it was less than $1,000, huh?
That is correct.
Well, this seems too easy. Have we missed something?
No?
No?
Okay.
That's it. Well, good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. It was a
Thanks.
lot of
Our
fun.
pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, now we're going to talk with Earl K. Wood, who's been the Orange County tax collector for over 25 years, to find out some of his insights on what's happening here at the tax lien certificate auction.
Well, it's very interesting. As you say, I've done 25 of these sales, and it's utterly amazing that there are people in there that could probably buy that entire newspaper of $23 million. But, of course, to keep the chaos from going completely off base, we had to devise a numbering system so that when somebody obtains a item, you don't have to stop and write down the name and address. So everybody registers and comes in there with their numbers, and of course every time a sign goes up, you know it, they want that item at 18%.
Well, I guess my very first question is, can you really earn 18% interest on your money?
Yes, most of those items will go at 18% because you notice they were only bidding down the numbers above $2,000 or $2,500. Then they bid the interest down. Of course, when you get up to about 26,000, some 150,000 went yesterday for 8 3/4%.
That was a $160,000 lien.
Right, 100.
Sold for 8 and what?
8 3/4 was
Okay.
the interest. So they will get 8 3/4 if that lien stays delinquent the entire year. Now, if it's redeemed in 2 or 3 months, they'll get a minimum of 5% and 1.5% a month until redeemed, up to 8 3/4. Now, the ones that are bidding in at 18, of course, if it stays delinquent a year, they would get 18% on that amount of money.
If it's less than a year?
Less than a year, they'll get 1.5% in a month based on which month the owner comes in and pays his taxes.
Okay, do most people pay off these tax lien certificates? What percentage would you say actually earn the interest that they would pay?
Well, of course, all of them will earn some interest. There's very few zero bids. If you live next door to a property and wanted it badly, you'd come up and say zero, and nobody could bid against you. So there's very few of those. So most of them are gaining some interest. But as you know, it depends on when they're redeemed. The nice thing about it, you cannot lose your property for 2 years. Those liens will stay there for 2 years until you decide to pay your taxes on your property. Nobody can touch your property for 2 years.
For the investor actually bidding on these certificates, how safe are they? That's probably an important question that people want to know.
Sure, it's safe to a certain extent because you've always got the land. But you might, a highway may come through and you're wound up with a piece of land that's not too valuable. So it's all a matter of what happens and what's in the future. It's pretty safe. You got the land. There are some risks. If somebody goes bankrupt on that list, then you must hold your certificate until they come out of bankruptcy, and then your 7 years starts ticking. As you know, 7 years these certificates are wiped out. So you must force a redemption of your taxes before 7 years is up.
Okay, so if I'm an individual coming in here, just like I just did, I bought a lien certificate. I bought mine at 18%.
Yes.
Nobody bid me down, so
That's
I've got
right.
that certificate of 18 cents.
That's right.
What is the real chance that I will earn 18% interest on my money?
Well, your chances are good because I think the item was around $900.
Right.
Somebody may not pay that for a whole year, and you're going to make your 18% on that $900. Then you'll make 18 the next year, too.
Okay. And if they paid it off early, I would get a pro rata share of
Yes,
that
sir,
interest.
you get at least 5%.
And my worst case is I would go to a foreclosure sale and I would have the chance to bid on the property, but whenever the property's paid off, my tax lien certificate's going to be paid off.
Right, correct. Whenever the owner comes in, yours and any other will be paid off, or it would go to a tax deed sale. Whenever one certificate is 2 years old, it can go to tax deed. Sometimes it doesn't. They may sit there and wait 4 years and make 18%. Whenever the person holding that certificate decides that they want to force the issue, then they come in and apply for a tax deed and go through another public bid.
As we look throughout the auditorium, we see many people from different walks of life bidding. We've got people wearing suits, people wearing overalls, young people, old people. I guess the question to ask right now is what type of person really finds themselves going to these auctions? Is there a specific type of person, or is this something that people from every walk of life like to be a part of?
Well, a lot of these people will look at these people and think they're tax sharks, but they're really not. They are people that are very much interested in their investments, as you're trying to explain to your people. The investment angle is the best angle. So you have every walk of life in there. You have people that are agents for banks that are bidding all that money. Their agent come here on salary just like anyone else as an agent for that bank. And then you have people in there, as I said, could buy that entire newspaper of $23 million. And it's their own money. So we have all kind of specters of people in there. There's no way you can tell which way their financial status is going.
What would you say are the risks? Because a lot of people watching this video right now are probably saying, again, here's something that sounds too good to be true. I can make double-digit rates of return. I know that in the state of Florida it's 18%. In many states it goes well above that. What is the catch here? I bet you that's the question that most people right now are saying. This just sounds too easy.
Sounds too easy, yes. Well, you're right. It sounds too easy, but I had a lawyer say that he would take a tax certificate anywhere in the state of Florida, and that's quite a statement, because if it's underwater or in the flood zone or something, it is a danger, of course. So you want to know what you're doing. You just don't want to go wildly. A thing that's a 2-foot strip, we try not to sell anybody. We turn that back to the county, and they hold the certificate until that is paid out, or a highway or whatever would happen. But there is a risk. You always have the land to back up on. There are some risks to it. If the property appraiser should make an error in the assessment, of course you get 8% back on your money guaranteed. If you go into a bankruptcy court, it's all depending on the judge, what he gives the people. But you always have that land as a backup in your security.
What are some inside tips that you could give people who would, just like today, walk in with me for the very first time? They've never bought a certificate before. You know they're nervous. They're a little uptight. I mean, even I had all these papers fumbling around and didn't know exactly which number to look at. What are kind of some inside tips from 25 years experience of how to do this from an investment standpoint?
Well, that's a good question, because I think if I were sitting in that audience, I would be very, very patient. I mean, you cannot expect to get a lot of figures the first day. I mean, you have to come and meet the people and know the people and work with them and be courteous and be polite and withdraw a few times when you get into a bid down situation, because after all, the friendlier you are to the other bidders, the nicer they're going to be to you. If you act a little greedy, they're going to really jump on you because they can afford it. They're going to cut you down. And as you know, one of them went to 8.25%, which is kind of low for these times. But it happens, so I would be very polite and be patient, mostly patient, because you're going to come out of there with $10,000, $15,000 worth of certificates if you sit there and be patient for the 2 or 3 days.
Through the 2 or 3 day process.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does research help to get familiar with the subdivisions that are being called out, or to look at property beforehand? Would that help? It seemed to go very fast, so I'm not sure that would have helped me.
Well, today they don't know anything about where that property is. All they're going by is the code on the paper says HX. If it's a homestead, they're pretty sure there's a home on it. The amount of money has something to do with it. They're not. Some of them will not bid below $1,000, and that's good. But the amount of money seems to control which they bid on and what they bid on and what they bid down. Of course, as you noticed, a lot of the banks will bid on anything above $2,000.
You know, this is all really interesting and exciting for a lot of people, but one of the things which always comes up with investors is, can I liquidate my investment if I get into a jam? How can tax lien certificates help us in that regard?
If you had a certificate and you just were being nervous about it and you needed your money, there's plenty of people in there that would buy that certificate and hold it till it's redeemed.
How would you go about finding those people?
Well, we have a list at the courthouse, which of the bidders. We don't give it out in a list because those people could be bothered by anybody about investments. So we try to keep it as confidential as possible. It is public record, and you could come in there and we will put you in touch with those people by telephone.
So if I need to liquidate my investment, I could call the tax assessor's office up,
Collector's office.
tax collector's office up and say, I need to liquidate my investment. I need to free up my capital for some reason, and probably I would be able to sell it. I don't want to put words in your mouth. So help me, do you think it's a reasonable chance I'd be able to sell my certificate to somebody else?
I think it would be, unless it's a small piece that they well know. It's interesting you asked that. Some bidders do some research on it, and they think that if they have a prior certificate that they have a certain prior to get this one. But you don't have to have both of them. You only have to have one that is 2 years old to force a tax deed sale.
Okay. So let's talk then about the tax deed sale. After 2 years, if they're at least 2 years, you can ask your office to foreclose. Is that correct? Or how
Yes,
does
sir.
that process work?
You come in and you fill out a paper saying that you want to apply for a tax deed. And then every tax deed before and after it is put into that first bid once a month through the clerk of the court's office, the comptroller. And they post that on the board again. This is another public notice. People are notified that the property is really getting in jeopardy now. And then these people come. At this time, you better know where the property is, because you may walk out of there owning it. But the bid starts at all the delinquent taxes, all the delinquent interest is the first bid. Again, my example was if you had a $10,000 penalty on these properties or delinquency, that's the first bid. He would say 10,000. You could say 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. As high as that goes, you're going to own the property, the land, at that time. You will get a tax deed. Then the man that held those certificates may not even win at that sale. He gets all his money back plus his interest, and then the owner gets the difference, which makes it so beautiful. Everybody wins in the situation. There's nobody losing.
So the investor to put out his money gets his back.
Gets his back.
The homeowner's covered. The banks are covered.
Right.
Everybody's covered in this
Everybody.
process.
Now you said the banks. You could lose a note and a mortgage if you don't watch your mortgagees. You have to be sure you pay their taxes, because notes could be wiped out at that tax deed sale. So mortgage companies real careful about letting them go delinquent that long.
So that means probably the mortgage company's going to step in and make sure that your tax lien is taken care of.
They better,
so they're
yes.
not wiped out.
So you do have a first lien. I want everybody to understand. Is this a first lien?
It's a first lien. I'm not too sure it goes ahead of a federal lien, although we have had a case in Seminole County where 13 years of tax certificates were paid out before the government foreclosed on property, and I won't mention any names here, property in Seminole County, which you're familiar with.
But this is way up there near an IRS lien. if not
Yes, that
above
was an IRS lien, and we all tell our bidders, we're not too familiar. You must talk to your tax lawyers about that, how that can come in there. But I've never heard anybody come in and complain. The 2 or 3 that do, they charge that up to by the way, you have to file a 1099 on the interest you earn on this, and they charge that up as a loss if you should happen to get a dud in there, and that's a loss in your business.
How much money does a person need? We've got people watching this program from every walk of life, people who maybe have 1,000, maybe there's people watching who have $1 million. What is too much and what is not enough to really come out to one of these events?
Well, I've often said, don't use the grocery money. I mean, don't use money you're going to need to eat on for 2 years. But if you have money that's sitting there in a trust or an investment, that's a lot of what these people are, trusts, and for their children, setting up trusts. And they've come every year, so it must be a good investment.
And so how long should I plan on having my money tied up if I want to buy a tax lien certificate? What is the length of time that I need to really be expecting to see that go before I'm going to get my money back with interest?
Well, you can control that. You can make it 2 years or you can make it 6, but you don't want to make it 7 because you're going to lose your money. 7 years, the tax certificate is wiped out and you lose your money.
So somewhere
you
between
must,
2 and 6 years.
Right, 2 and 6 years. You must pursue that.
And the reason why you have that long and you control it is because you can ask to have a sale of the property prior to the 7th year.
And if you don't want to sell and the owner doesn't want to sell, it can sit there, but you still earn your interest.
Still earn your interest. Well, that's kind of exciting. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes,
So that lets you have a longer term if you want.
Right.
And again, if you need liquidity, you have that because you can go to the collector's office and ask them to see if they can't help you in selling it, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. That's exciting. One last question. Who actually helps me collect the money? If I've got a certificate out that I hold, how do I actually get the process and get the money back to me?
That's a good question. We do all the bookkeeping for you. That's another
Well, that's
beautiful.
nice. I like that.
We
Full
give you the
service.
notices and we keep up with the interest, and you walk in, turn in your certificate, and you get a check. There's nothing better than that. No charge. Well, there's a small fee in there, but it's so small that nobody notices it.
Well, good. That's exciting.
$5 to collect your
I'm
fee.
going to look forward to collecting my 18%.
Right. I hope that one goes 2 years so you get the full benefit of the 18.
So do I, actually. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for your time.
My
We
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Good to have you.
Okay, we're out talking to some different people. I just met George here. We've never met before, have we?
No, we have not.
Okay, you're one of the buyers here at the tax lien sale.
Bidders, that's right.
Is this your first time?
This is my first time. Yes.
Okay, and have you bid on anything so far?
Oh, yes, I have on one so far.
And one that you got awarded, right?
Yes, I
And did you get awarded the full 18%?
The full 18%. I was quite lucky.
That was good.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, this being your first experience, how do you feel about it now?
Well, it's a good investment, a good for diversification, and since I'm a real estate investor, it's part of my portfolio to get into these type of things.
Did you feel it was very complicated or something anybody
No,
could
it's
do?
very simple. Anybody can get in it. After you observe the thing once or twice, and it falls right in place.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you very much for your
You're
time.
quite welcome.
Let's start by asking, is this the first time you've been to a tax lien auction?
No, this is the fourth time.
The fourth time, so you're very experienced at this.
Relatively so.
Why did you come here? What is behind the reasoning for you to come out to something like this?
Well, I had some friends of mine who have been doing this for a number of years, and they felt it was a fairly risk-free way of getting a higher return on your money than you could get from a conventional investment like a CD or
Right.
passbook or whatever.
Now, you've done this for 4 years.
Right.
What has your experience been? You've probably been paid off on some. Is that correct?
Well, I still have, my first year was in 1988, and I still have two tax certificates left in 1988.
Now, do you get the 18% rate on most of the ones that you're bidding?
Well, unless you get carried away and start bidding, there are a lot of people in there bidding down to 9.5, but they work mostly for banks and pension funds and trusts. I think most of us small individual investors try to get a higher rate.
So most of the ones you're getting are up
Around the 18%, 17%.
Okay, let me ask you this question. In this day and age where interest rates are very low, CDs are low, savings accounts, money markets, is that also another reason behind it? Do many of your peers go to this type of a process to be able to avoid those lower instruments?
I think so, really, and this is relatively unknown among the most people, I mean, attending the tax certificate. The pension funds and banks are very aware of it. They're the ones that are doing all the bidding today, which is why I'm out here right now.
How many certificates did you buy?
20 or so.
Oh, quite a few then.
Yes, sir.
Would they be at the higher interest rate at the 18%?
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yes, sir.
Let me start by asking you, you're here to bid, obviously.
yes.
Tell us a little bit about your experience. Is this the first time you've ever been to one of these?
No, I've been doing this for about 5 years.
About 5 years, so
Yes.
you would be fairly experienced at
Yes.
doing this. Are most of the tax liens you're getting up in the 18% range?
No.
You're getting the ones that are at the lower rates?
No, we get a little of both.
Okay.
We both.
Tell us the reasoning behind that. I know that some people would prefer to get a lesser rate on a higher quality property. Tell us why sometimes that happens and you might be attracted to a lower interest rate on a specific property.
Well, if you do research, if you know your areas, you know your properties, you can afford to do that. Because if it pays off like in the first 3 months, it's only 5%, no matter what you bid. So a lot of people bid trying to get that kind of an item.
Okay, now a person in your situation probably has looked at a lot of the other alternatives out there as far as investing your money, CDs, money markets, savings accounts. Tell us a little bit about your investment strategy. Is this something that you put a good chunk of your money into, or are you involved in those other areas? Tell us a little bit about that.
Put almost all of our money in this.
Okay, so you're staying away from the other areas because the yields are so much more attractive.
It is a hobby that has become a business for us.
Okay, now when you say a business, do you ever buy these and resell them? Is that part of what you do?
No.
Because I know that there are people here that do that as
Yeah,
well.
no, we do not do that. We go to about 14 counties in the state and try to do the best we can during this 3-week period.
So you don't stay just here in Central Florida, you actually travel around,
Mostly we do Central Florida.
but outside of Orlando, in some cases.
Yes. Well, we're from the Sarasota area,
Okay.
so from there down and up.
Now, because people are going to be getting this video all over the country and viewing it, maybe tell us a little bit about what it takes for a person like yourself who goes to a lot of different counties. What's the process? How did you find out where to go and when the auction was? Is it pretty easy to find that information out?
Yes, it's all advertised. They do it in several states across the country. Michigan is one, Illinois. I'm not sure about the others. We do a few in Michigan and mostly in Florida.
Do you place a phone call to the county offices to find out?
We get to know all of the county officers very well.
And this
Yes.
is something that you do throughout the year? These are at different times of the year?
Well, you buy at this time of year. The rest of the year is keeping track of it,
Right.
trying to see how many are bad, good, and then the ones that we have to bring to tax sale that have not paid. And that costs a lot of money to bring something to sale, so you better be sure what it is.
So over the years, what would you say has been your average rate of return on this investment concept?
That would be
In the
too
mid-teens,
difficult.
the low
I would
teens?
have no way of saying that.
But you've been happy with it because you keep coming back.
Obviously, yes.
Well, thanks so much for your time.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
You just come out of the auction. Did you buy anything? Were you successful?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, 2 or 3 different things, or what?
I got about two.
About-
She got 2 and I got 1. Her grandfather got 1.
Okay, so this was a team effort, kind of, huh?
Yeah.
Well, she's in for her father.
Oh, I see. Okay. Did you get the full 18%, or did it get bid down a little bit?
The 18%.
You did. And how about yourself?
Yes, is 18 too.
Okay. Is this your first time doing this, or have you done it before?
This is my first time. My dad's out of town and I'm filling in for him.
So you're filling in, and you went through the process. Was it cumbersome, or was it something that you felt real comfortable with?
It was fine. It was a good learning experience.
Good learning experience. How about yourself, man? Was this the first time for you?
No, we've been coming for several years.
Okay. And how have you done in the past on tax lien certificates? Have they worked out well for you?
Yes, they have.
Okay. And for your father, who's been doing it for a while, how about him? Do you think he's been happy
He's done
with
pretty
it?
good.
Okay.
He's happy with it.
Do you think you'll come back again?
Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, would you
Yes,
say?
I'll probably be here next year.
Yes, I was actually able to pick up a few of the properties that have been listed, yes.
So how many tax lien certificates did you purchase?
In the last 2 days, about 15, 20.
Wow, so you've got a lot of these. Have you been doing this for a long time, or is this your first
This is my first year.
first time? Was it difficult for you to get involved with this when you first came in? A lot of people say that maybe when they first come in, they're not quite sure what to do, but you were able to get right in there and start bidding.
Exactly. It's an easy process. I mean, once you learn the mechanics, I've had several associates discuss with me how this works and everything, and it's fairly easy. Once you get the process down, it's just a piece of cake after that.
Now, obviously, there are a lot of other options out there, too, as an investor today. Savings accounts, money markets, CDs. You're opting to go this route instead of that. I assume you're making a pretty good rate of return. Are you getting
Yes.
most of yours up in the higher 18%?
Yes, I am. Out of the 25 that I bought, I would say about 90%.
So is this something that you would recommend to other people who are looking to get higher rates of return?
Oh, very highly, yes.
Now, I bet one thing that happens is you mention this to your friends, possibly relatives, and they immediately say, wait a minute, there's got to be a catch here that sounds too good to be true. Does that ever happen to you?
It's happened, but the only catch is you're investing money that's going to pay off in the long run. It's nothing that you're going to get tomorrow. So, if you have the money to go ahead and invest into it, I would say yes, because you're making more than you're putting your money into the bank, and they're paying at a higher interest rate. So it's a lot better that way.
Now, we're talking to a lot of retired people who are here who are looking at this as a possible way of getting income over the years by buying these. You're a younger person. Is this part of your retirement plan to try and keep using these to build up your retirement funds?
Actually, just something I'm playing around with right now. I've got other avenues I'm looking into right now, but this is a way to actually move into my direction, yes.
And it beats the banks.
Definitely beats the banks.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Well, JW, easier than we thought it might have been.
Yes, and a lot of fun. We got to meet some nice people. Enjoyed that.
And that was the common response, people saying that this is easy to do, something that many of them have done for years. But we don't want to not tell the whole story, because part of the story is that there are some risks that people need to consider.
That's true, and I think that's real important for all of our viewers to understand that there are risks associated with this investment or any kind of investment. A lot of people that we talked about said that they did have some problems along the way and they needed to work on them. So it's not something to go in blindly, but it is something that you see all different types of people doing it. Some elderly people, some young people, some of all different shapes and sizes, if you will.
And as we talked about, these are available all around the country, not just here in Central Florida. We met one lady who said that she goes to 14 different tax lien auctions all throughout the state of Florida. It's important that you find out about these in your specific part of the country. And I know that we have people watching this video from the Midwest, from the West Coast, and these are available all over the country. 18% is the rate of return here in Central Florida, but in other parts of the country, like in Michigan, the return can be as high as 50, not 15, but 50%. So what should somebody do who wants to pursue this in their specific part of the country?
Well, I think clearly you need to start out in your local area first. Go down to talk to your local tax collector. Maybe give them a telephone call and actually set up an appointment to go down and speak one-on-one with them. You'd be amazed at how helpful these people are. As you saw today on the video, they're all open, they're all interested in helping, they're your paid officials. So sit down one-on-one, talk to them, get to know how the process works, because it's a little bit different everywhere, but But again, as you saw today, anybody can do it. You just walk in.
And again, the thing that I was amazed about was how easy it was. We walked in, people were ready to answer our questions, ready to help us with the paperwork. It is easy to get started, and a lot of people are doing this because they're looking for alternatives. Historically speaking, CDs, savings accounts, money markets are just not the way to go. And we talk about a lot of other investments like mutual funds, which return in the higher rates return, and many times you'll turn on the television, you'll see a mutual fund being highlighted that might have a 12 or a 13% rate of return over a 5-year period. But we're talking about people walking in and out these doors earning 18%, and they're doing nothing scientific. It's easy to do.
It's amazing. All you did was hold up that little card.
That's right.
And that's 18%. Now, true, some get bid down, and as we watched on the video today, some would be bid down lower. People have to understand that they may be willing to accept it or not. It's really up to them. But the thing is, they can keep bidding and trying to get the 18%. And as they saw, it's relatively easy to do.
Now, again, in this situation, the lowest bidder wins, because if you really want a property and they're all going at 18% and you yell out 17, you're volunteering to take a lesser interest rate.
That's
so then,
right.
as the interest rate lowers, the demand would slow down for that, and eventually you would buy it. And someone mentioned to us a few moments ago that there was actually one property that was purchased by a bank, one certificate that was at 8.75%. So it does range, but most of the people are up at 18.
Most of them are at 18, and the reason why that bank bought it at 8.75 is because they borrow the money at a much lower rate through the Federal Reserve, so they're making a spread even on their 8.75. They bid on big properties. That was like a $160,000 bid. So for most people that are looking for the lower price things, it's available for them.
An easy way to make a lot of money.
I think so.
Not as difficult as people might imagine. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's been fun.